The phone rang at 2:13 in the morning. Maya wasn't expecting a call. Nobody ever called her this late. At first, she thought it was just a wrong number. Half asleep, she reached across the nightstand and answered without even checking the screen. "Hello," she whispered, her voice groggy. But what she heard next made her sit up straight, every trace of sleep gone. Her own voice answered back. "Hello." It was unmistakable. The tone, the pitch, the slight rasp at the end of the word. It was her, Maya. But she hadn't spoken. She froze, phone pressed tightly to her ear, heart pounding so hard she thought it might break the silence. "Who is this?" she demanded, trying to sound braver than she felt. The line crackled. And then, her voice again. "Who is this?" The exact same words. The exact same rhythm. As if it were an echo, but it wasn't. The delay was wrong. Too perfect. Too alive. She looked at her phone screen. No caller ID. Just unknown number. Maya's apartment was quiet. The city outside muffled under the rain tapping against her window. Yet she felt watched. Every shadow in the room seemed heavier. The voice on the other end laughed. And it was the kind of laugh she recognized instantly, because it was hers, the nervous little chuckle she always made when she didn't know what to say. Hearing it now, from someone or something else, sent a chill straight through her. Her throat tightened. "Why do you sound like me?" she whispered. There was a pause. Then the voice came again, soft and deliberate. "Because I am you." The words echoed in her head. She didn't even realize she was shaking until her phone slipped slightly from her grip. She wanted to hang up, but she couldn't. Something about hearing her own voice, speaking words she hadn't said, rooted her in place. The line went quiet. She thought it was over. And then, just before the call ended, the voice whispered one final thing. Words that would haunt her long after she set the phone down. "I know what you're going to do next." Click. The call ended. Maya sat frozen, the dial tone buzzing in her ear long after the call had ended. Her hand trembled as she lowered the phone to her lap. Her heart was still racing, and yet the apartment seemed unnervingly still, as if the air itself was waiting. She couldn't shake the words. "I know what you're going to do next." That voice, it wasn't just hers. It was a version of her, but darker, sharper, like hearing herself reflected through a cracked mirror. She rubbed her eyes, tried to convince herself it was a dream, a trick of exhaustion. But sleep wouldn't come, not with the memory of that laugh still echoing in her head. Maya wasn't new to late-night unease. Ever since she moved into this apartment 2 months ago, she had been restless. She blamed the city sounds, the distant sirens, the constant hum of life outside. But lately it felt different. She'd catch herself glancing at reflective surfaces too long, hearing faint echoes and recordings of her own voice. Even her voicemail greeting had begun to sound strange to her, like someone else was repeating her words. Her grandmother used to tell her she had a thin veil, that some people could sense things beyond the ordinary. As a child, Maya had laughed it off. But now, sitting in the dim light of her room, her grandmother's words felt less like superstition and more like a warning. She reached for her journal, the one she used to track her thoughts whenever the insomnia got bad. Flipping to the most recent entry, she stopped cold. The last line read, "The phone will ring at 2:13 a.m. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't written that. The neat handwriting looked exactly like hers, but she had no memory of putting those words down. She turned the page, hands shaking harder now. The entry beneath was even worse. It read, "Don't answer next time." Her chest tightened. She slammed the journal shut and shoved it under her pillow as though hiding it could erase the words. Her breath came in quick, shallow gasps. The phone lit up again. 2:19 a.m., unknown number. Her pulse spiked. She didn't touch it. She couldn't. She just sat there, watching the glow fill the dark room, casting shadows across her face. The ringing seemed louder this time, almost insistent, as if the voice on the other end knew she was hesitating. And then, just before the call went to voicemail, the phone stopped ringing on its own. The screen went black. But from the corner of the room, Maya swore she heard her own voice whisper, "You should have answered." Maya didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Every creak of the floorboards, every hiss of the radiator, made her flinch. By morning, the sunlight streaming through her blinds should have been comforting, but it wasn't. The shadows in the corners still felt occupied. She clutched her journal like a lifeline. The entries that weren't hers stared back at her in perfect replicas of her handwriting. It didn't make sense. Nobody else had a key to the apartment. Nobody else should have been able to touch it. On her way to work, she considered telling someone, her best friend Lena, maybe. But what would she even say? Hey, I think I'm being stalked by my own voice. Lena was the type who needed hard evidence. Proof. Maya didn't have any, except for words that could easily be dismissed as sleepwalking or stress. By the time she reached her office, she felt almost foolish for believing it. Maybe she really had written those words without remembering. Maybe the call was some tech glitch. But when she pulled her phone out of her bag, her stomach dropped again. There was a new voicemail. Timestamp 2:19 a.m. She pressed play. Static filled her ears. And then, her own voice. You should have answered. Maya's hand shook so badly, she nearly dropped the phone. The day dragged on, her co-workers' chatter sounding distant, like she was underwater. She caught herself staring too long at her computer screen, half expecting her reflection to move in the dark glass. When Lena tapped her on the shoulder, Maya jumped. You look awful, Lena said gently. Are you okay? Maya wanted to say yes. Instead, the words slipped out. Do you ever feel like you're not alone? Even when you are? Lena frowned. You've been working too much. You need sleep. Maybe talk to someone. Maya nodded, but inside, she felt a storm brewing. Talking to someone wouldn't fix this. This wasn't just exhaustion. This was something else. On the subway ride home, she thought about her grandmother again. The thin veil, the warning she used to laugh at. Maybe it wasn't just a story. Maybe her grandmother had known something about their family that Maya was only now discovering. The moral dilemma clawed at her. If this other version of her was real, what did it want? Was it warning her? Or replacing her? And what if ignoring it made things worse? Back in her apartment, she set the journal on the kitchen table. She wanted to confront it, to see if it would write something new. Hours passed, nothing happened. She began to believe she'd imagined everything. Until she got up for water. The journal was open. Fresh ink on the page. This time, it didn't predict a phone call. It read, Lena doesn't believe you. Don't trust her. Maya's breath hitched. Her fingers hovered above the words. For the first time, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't yet allowed herself to consider. What if this voice wasn't her enemy? What if it was trying to protect her? The wind howled through the narrow alleyways, rattling loose shutters. Marla pressed herself against the brick wall, heart pounding. Every shadow seemed to twitch as if alive. She could hear footsteps, slow, deliberate, and coming closer. Not her own. Hers had stopped minutes ago. She swallowed hard. The folder in her bag, the one with all the evidence, felt like it burned through the fabric. If he found it, there would be no coming back. Footsteps. Right there. She froze. You shouldn't have come here alone, a voice whispered from the darkness. Marla's stomach dropped. She knew that voice. Too well. Jonas. Always one step ahead. Always knowing. I had no choice, she stammered, keeping her back pressed to the wall. I had to see for myself. A shadow shifted. Jonas stepped forward, face obscured. And now you've seen too much. The alley seemed to shrink around her. Every instinct screamed run, but her legs felt rooted. She realized she didn't even have a plan anymore. The plan had been simple. Get the evidence, escape, expose them. Simple. But nothing stayed simple for long. The folder rustled. Her hand tightened on it. She could feel the papers, fragile, irreplaceable. And then she remembered the warning, the cryptic text she had ignored. Some truths are better left buried. Jonas laughed. Low. Cold. Do you think you can stop this? You have no idea what you're dealing with. Marla's mind raced. Betrayal. Fear. Anger. She thought of every face that had smiled at her, every hand she had trusted. Were they all part of this? She felt the weight of the city around her, the streets, the alleys, every light flickering like a heartbeat counting down. A noise behind her. Something metallic. Her head snapped around. Footsteps again, but lighter. Faster. Another player in the game? or someone already trapped in the wrong place at the wrong time. Time blurred. Every second stretched into eternity. The folder felt heavier. Jonas's shadow grew longer. The street lamp flickered and went out. Marla's breath caught. She knew the moment was coming. The confrontation she had been running toward, even when she told herself she wasn't ready. Everything she had discovered, everything she had hidden was about to collide. Secrets whispered in corners, lies scribbled in hidden files, threats in every word spoken. They were all on the verge of bursting into the open. Then, footsteps stopped. Silence. Her heart beat. The distant hum of the city. The alley seemed suspended between what was and what could happen. She gripped the folder tighter, knuckles white. One wrong move, one careless glance, and everything would crumble. Marla braced herself. She didn't know who would make the first move, but she knew soon the storm would break. Maya's hands trembled as she stared at the fresh words in her journal. Lena doesn't believe you. Don't trust her. Her first instinct was to laugh it off, to call it paranoia. Lena was her best friend, her only real anchor in this city. But the neat, identical handwriting made her skin crawl. Someone, or something, knew too much. That evening, Lena invited her out for dinner. Maya almost said no, but she forced herself to go. Sitting across from Lena in the noisy little restaurant, she tried to act normal, but her mind wouldn't stop circling the warning. Lena leaned forward. Maya, you've been off. You're pale, jumpy. If something's going on, you can tell me. Maya swallowed. The words were on the tip of her tongue. The calls, the journal, the voice. She wanted to spill everything, but then her phone buzzed in her pocket. Unknown number. Her stomach twisted. She silenced it quickly, but Lena noticed. Who's calling? Maya shook her head. Nobody. The phone buzzed again. She pulled it out, meaning to turn it off. But a text appeared on the screen. Her blood ran cold. It was from the unknown number. The message said, "Don't tell her. She's lying to you." Maya's breath caught. Her eyes darted up to Lena, who was watching her carefully. For a split second, Maya saw something in her friend's face, an unreadable flicker, like Lena knew more than she was saying. She forced a smile. "It's just spam," she muttered, slipping the phone back in her bag. But inside, she was crumbling. On the subway ride home, the voices warred inside her head. Was the other her manipulating her? Or was Lena hiding something? If she trusted the wrong one, she could lose everything. When she reached her apartment, the journal was waiting on the kitchen table again, open to a new page. This time, it wasn't a warning. It was a confession. She already knows about me. Maya staggered back. The implication cut deeper than anything else had. Lena knew about the calls, the voice, the journal. Her phone buzzed again. Another text. This one wasn't from the unknown number. It was from Lena. The message read, "We need to talk. Alone. Don't bring your phone." Maya's pulse spiked. If Lena was part of this, whatever this was, then the betrayal was worse than she could have imagined. But if Lena was innocent, ignoring her could mean pushing away the only person who could help. The choice gnawed at her. Trust Lena and risk the warnings being right. Or trust the voice that had stolen her identity and seemed to know her future. She stared at her reflection in the darkened kitchen window. For the first time, her reflection didn't quite match her. Its lips curled into a faint smile and whispered, "Choose wrong, and you'll lose yourself." Maya's hand shook as she unlocked her apartment door. The hallway was dark and quiet, but the air inside felt heavier than ever. She had agreed to meet Lena, alone, without her phone. Every step felt like walking into a trap she might never return from. The living room lights were off, but the faint glow from the city outside painted Lena in sharp relief. She was standing by the window, calm, almost eerily so. Maya's pulse thundered in her ears. "You came," Lena said softly. Her eyes didn't look at Maya. They flicked to the corner, to the shadow that wasn't quite hers. Maya froze. Her reflection, the voice, the journal, it all had led here. She realized, with a sinking clarity, that the other her wasn't just a voice anymore. It was a presence. It had been inside her life the whole time, manipulating, guiding, warning. Maya started, but the words stuck. Lena finally turned fully, face serious. Maya, you need to understand. This isn't about me. This thing has been using you. Using me too. The lights flickered. For a heartbeat, Maya saw herself across the room, but it wasn't her. The reflection smiled, mouth moving in ways Maya hadn't yet, words forming she hadn't thought. You're both pieces of me, the voice said, soft but resonant. I exist because you forgot something crucial. Your past, your choices, the mistakes you buried. I'm the echo, the memory, the consequence you refused to face. Maya stumbled back. Memories she had pushed away, lies she had told herself, moments she had erased, flooded her mind. Each one connected to Lena. Each one explained why the journal, the calls, the voice had chosen her. I don't understand, Maya whispered, tears blurring her vision. You will, Lena said, taking her hand. But only if you confront it. Only if you face yourself, your fears, your guilt, your secrets. Otherwise, she gestured to the reflection. You lose everything. Maya's reflection leaned closer to the glass, lips curling, whispering. I know what you're going to do next. For a moment, she felt paralyzed. Then she exhaled slowly, grounding herself. She reached out, not to fight, not to flee, but to accept. She said aloud every hidden truth, every regret. And as she spoke, the reflection softened, then shimmered, then vanished. The journal lay closed on the table. The phone was silent. Lena squeezed her hand. It's over, Lena said. Maya nodded, a strange mix of relief and sadness washing over her. She had faced the voice, faced herself, and survived. And yet, in the far corner of the room, the faintest echo of a smile lingered on the wall, almost imperceptible, as if it were waiting for the next secret, the next choice, the next call. Because some reflections never fully disappear. The days after that night were quiet, almost eerily so. Maya returned to her routine, but something fundamental inside her had shifted. The phone no longer rang in the dead of night. The journal stayed closed, and the shadows in her apartment no longer seemed alive. She still thought of the reflection, the voice, and the messages that had haunted her. But now, instead of fear, she felt understanding. Every choice she had made, every secret she had buried, had led her here. And facing them had not only silenced the echo, it had changed her. Lena visited often. Their friendship, tested by the strange events, had deepened. They laughed again, tentatively at first, learning to trust fully in one another. Maya shared her thoughts, her fears, without hesitation. Each confession was a small act of freedom, a way to reclaim the life that had been shadowed by doubt and self-deception. Maya began journaling again, this time openly. She wrote about the reflection, about the nights she had spent hearing her own voice, and about the courage it had taken to confront herself. She realized that the other her had never been malicious. It had been a mirror, a reminder that we cannot outrun who we truly are. One afternoon, Maya looked into her bathroom mirror and smiled, without hesitation, without fear. It was her reflection, perfectly aligned, unthreatening. And yet, for the first time, she understood that reflection would always exist, not as a threat, but as a teacher. She thought of the viewers, of people who might face their own fears, secrets, or haunting pasts. She wanted to tell them, sometimes the hardest battle is with yourself. Facing it doesn't destroy you, it transforms you. Maya's final realization came gently, like the morning sun breaking through the clouds. Life isn't about erasing the shadows or silencing the echoes. It's about acknowledging them, learning from them, and moving forward with clarity. As she set down her pen, she whispered a small promise to herself. I will never ignore the truth again. I will never run from who I am. And in that moment, she felt peace. The city outside moved on as it always had, oblivious to the quiet victories inside a small apartment. Maya had faced the voice, faced the reflection, faced herself, and she was stronger for it. Her story, her journey, was over, but the lesson lingered, a quiet echo for anyone willing to listen. Sometimes the person you fear most is the person you've been hiding from all along.